today we're going to talk about how to find the equation of a line from 2 points. So this example says write the equation of a line containing the point 8, 2 and a slope of -3/4. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to write out what my equation is going to look like. I know it's going to look like y equals mx plus b because that's what an equation in slope-intercept form looks like. I also know that I need two things in order to solve that equation. Number one, I need the slope, or m, and number two, I need the y-intercept, or b. So I'm going to read through my question. I'm saying, okay, what am I given? What does this question give me? Does it give me the slope? Does it give me the y-intercept? So let's write an equation of a line. Okay, I know that's going to look like y equals mx plus b, containing the points 8, 2. This point is neither a slope or y-intercept, so I can't use that right now, and a slope of -3/4. Oh, slope is -3/4, so I'm going to go ahead and write that out. Slope is -3/4. Okay. Now, I'm not given b, so I'm going to have to do some work to figure that out. Something that this question does give us is it gives us a point. And I know that for all points, our values are x, comma, y. So this first number, 8, is a value of x. This second number, 2, is a value of y. So I know that x equals 8. I know that y equals 2. I also know from reading the question that m equals -3/4. Now, when we're looking at our equation, y equals mx plus b, whenever you're solving for a variable, you're trying to get that variable alone. And you can't solve for something like b if we still have variables left. But I have y, I have m, and I have x. What I can do is substitute in these values and solve for b. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to draw my line down the equal sign. Say, okay, the value of y is, and I'm going to use parentheses because it's good to use parentheses when I'm substituting, y is 2. The value of m is -3/4. The value of x is 8. Now, I need to remind myself that when m and x touch like this, it means they're multiplying. So I'm going to use parentheses here to also remind myself that I'm multiplying because I know when two parentheses touch, it also means multiplying. And I don't know what b is, so I'm going to put plus b. Okay, so now I have some simplifying I can do. I see that over here I just have a 2, and there's nothing around it, so I'm going to drop my parentheses. Here I have a -3/4 times 8. Well, -3/4 times 8 is a -6. And I drop my parentheses because I multiplied those together. And I haven't done anything with my b, so I'm going to plus b. Now this is a one-step equation, and you should be asking yourself, what is happening to b? Well, -6 is being added to b. How do you undo add -6? You add 6 to both sides. 6 plus 2 is 8. -6 plus 6 is 0. That cancels out. I'm going to bring down my b. And now I have 8 equals b. Now, in order to write my equation, I needed to know what the slope was, and I needed to know what the y-intercept was. I now have the y-intercept and slope. So I'm going to write my equation out. Y equals m, which is -3/4, x, remember the y and the x stay in the equation like they are, plus b, and my b was 8, so I'm going to plus 8. Now, any good mathematician should always check their work. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this work so I have a little bit more room. And I think my answer is y equals -3/4 x plus 8. So I'm going to write that out. Y equals -3/4 x plus 8. That's what I think the answer is. The way I can check it is I should put this point back into x and y and see if I get the same on both sides. So I know on this point my y value is 2, so I'm going to write 2. I'm going to use parentheses to remind myself. I have a -3/4 as my slope that I think is works, so I'm going to put -3/4. My x value was 8, so I'm going to put 8 in for x, plus 8. Now let's see if this works. Alright, I'm going to bring down my 2 and drop the parentheses. Negative 3/4 times 8 is negative 6. I'm going to bring down my plus 8 because I haven't done anything with that yet. So go ahead and simplify again. Bring down my 2. Negative 6 plus 8 is positive 2. Because I got 2 equals 2, that means that my equation is true. That means that my check worked. So my equation is y equals negative 3/4 x plus 8. This is the answer. This is my equation that goes through this point and has a slope of negative 3/4. Alright, so let's go ahead and do another example. It says write the equation of the line containing the point negative 1, 3, and a slope of 1/5. So, again, the very first thing that you should always do is you should write out for yourself, what is that equation going to look like? I know it's going to look like y equals mx plus b. And then you should ask yourself, okay, what 2 things do I need in order to write this equation? Number 1, I need the slope, m. Number 2, I need the y-intercept, or b. Now let's see what we're given. We're given a point containing a point negative 1, 3. And we're also given a slope of 1/5. A slope of 1/5. So I'm going to go ahead and write down that m is 1/5. Now I know that I'm going to need to use this point, so I'm going to label it x and y so I know what x is and what y is. And again, I'm going to use my equation and substitute in my values. So I have y equals mx plus b, and I'm going to write that first so I can follow along. So the y value of my point was 3. The m I was given was 1/5, and remember, use parentheses as you're substituting. The x value in my point is negative 1. And I don't know what b is yet, so I'm just going to put plus b. I'm going to go ahead and simplify. I'm going to drop my parentheses and bring down my 3. 1/5 times negative 1 is a negative 1/5 plus b. Now I know, okay, how do I get this b by itself when negative 1/5 is being added to b? Well, to undo a negative 1/5, I'm going to add 1/5. And 3 plus 1/5 gives us 3 and 1/5, which equals b. So I'm going to go ahead and write that over here. 3 and 1/5. Now, I'm going to write my equation. It's going to be y equals m, which was 1/5 x plus 3 and 1/5. Now, we've talked about this previously, but it's not good to leave this as a mixed number. It'd be better if we changed this mixed number into a decimal, and 3 and 1/5 as a decimal is 3.2. So another answer that is slightly more acceptable would be something like y equals 3/5 x plus, so instead of 3 and 1/5, I'm going to write 3.2. Now remember, any good mathematician should check their work. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this work. I'm going to write out my equation. Y equals 1/5 x plus 3.2. My y value is 3, so I'm going to substitute in a 3. I had 1/5 as a slope. My x value was negative 1 plus 3.2. I'm going to bring down my 3. 1/5 times negative 1 is negative 1/5. Bring down my plus 3.2. And negative 1/5 plus 3.2 gives us a positive 3. Our check worked. We got 3 equals 3. That means that our equation is true. So our equation and our answer to this question that goes through a point negative 1/3 and has a slope of 1/5 is y equals 1/5 x plus 3.2. Alright, we're going to do one more example. So again, it says write the equation of a line containing point 4, comma, negative 2, and then m of 5. So the first thing we want to do is write out our equation. We know our equation is going to look like y equals mx plus b. And we know that we need two things in order to write that equation. Number 1, we need m, and number 2, we need b. So I'm going to see what am I given. I'm given this point for negative 2, and I'm given a slope of m. So go ahead and write that m equals 5, because I know that the slope is 5. Now I don't have b, but I do have this point. I'm going to label it as x and y. I'm going to write out my equation, y equals mx plus b. And then I'm going to go ahead and substitute in my values. So y is negative 2, m is 5, and make sure you use parentheses as we substitute. Our value of x in our point is a positive 4. And we don't know b, so I'm going to put plus b. And then I'm going to go ahead and simplify. I'm going to bring down my negative 2. 5 times 4 is 20. And bring down my plus b. Now I see that I'm doing 20 plus b. And how do I undo plus 20? I'm going to minus 20 from both sides. Negative 2 minus 20 is a negative 22. This cancels out. I'm going to bring down b. So b is negative 22. At this point, we should go ahead and write our equation. So y equals 5x, or mx, because the slope is 5, minus 22, because b is 22. Remember that the final step that we should take is that we should make sure that our answer is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this work so I have a little bit more room. And I'm going to say, okay, I think the equation, the answer is y equals 5x minus 22. My y value in my point was negative 2. My x value in my point was a positive 4. I'm going to go ahead and simplify. Negative 2 is going to come down. 5 times 4 is 20. I'm going to bring down my negative 2. And 20 minus 22 is negative 2. So this check worked. So my answer is y equals 5x minus 22. Alright, now we're going to do an example that's a little bit different. It says, write the equation of a line containing the point 3, 2, and b equals 3. So again, let's write out what our equation is going to look like. We know it's going to look like y equals mx plus b. And we know that we need two things in order to write it, what m is and what b is. Now, in this example, I'm given a point again, so I'm going to label that x and y so I know which one x is and which one y is. But in this example, I'm given that b equals 3. So I need to write that b equals 3, not m. We're going to do the problem similar, but just slightly different. So again, I'm going to substitute in my values. I'm going to rewrite out y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to go through and put my values in. I know that the value of y is 2. So I'm going to put a 2 in for y. The value for m was, we don't know, so I'm going to leave that as m. The value for x was 3. And the value of b, we did know it was plus 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify this by dropping some parentheses. I'm going to drop my parentheses around the 2. Having m and 3 touch each other without parentheses still means multiplication, same as it would mean these two parentheses are touching. And we're not used to seeing m3. We're used to seeing this coefficient in the front. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3m plus 3. Now you should see that this should look like a two-step equation. Remember that we're going to use reverse GEMDAS when we solve this. And we're going to start at the bottom, meaning we should get rid of our addition and subtraction first. So how do I undo a plus 3? I minus 3 from both sides. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. I'm going to bring down my 3m. 3 minus 3 is 0. That cancels. Now I have no addition and subtraction left. I'm going to look for a multiplication or addition. I know that between 3 and m there's multiplication, and to undo multiplication we need to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Now these 3's cancel out, and when we write this, we're running out of room here. When I do negative 1 divided by 3 in my calculator, I get 0.3 repeating. Since this is a slope and it's okay for it to stay a fraction, I'm just going to write this as negative 1 over 3. So I'm going to rewrite that over here. Negative 1 over 3. Now I have my m and I have my b. I'm going to write my equation. Y equals negative 1 over 3x plus 3. Now remember, your next step should always be to check. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this so I have a little bit more room to work. I'm going to write my equation. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. My y value was 2, so I'm going to put a 2 in for y. Bring down my negative 1/3. My x value was 3 plus 3. And let's see if that works. Bring down my 2. Negative 1/3 times 3 is negative 1. And if I do negative 1 plus 3, I get positive 2. 2 equals 2. That check works. That means that my equation is correct. So y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. Alright, we're going to do one more example. So this question says, write the equation of the line containing a slope of 1/3 and an x-intercept of 6. So again, I want to write an equation, so the first thing that you should do is write y equals mx plus b. And we want to know what is m and what is b. Now let's see what we were given. It says a line containing a slope of 1/3. Okay, so I know that the slope, or m, is 1/3. I'm going to write that down. And an x-intercept of 6. Now, this is a little bit tricky because we've been dealing with situations in which we were given a point. But this is still descriptive enough for us to use. An x-intercept of 6. Well, I know that an x-intercept has to have a point. And if I were to draw this out, here's x, here's y. An x-intercept of 6, that means that I cross my x-axis at 6. Say that that's 6 right there. If this is my x-intercept of 6, this point would be, well, I went 6 to the right, and I went 0 up and down. I could label that point as 6, 0. So something we need to realize is that an x-intercept of 6 can be written as a point. We can write that as the point 6, 0. Now I have a slope, and I have a point that I can label with an x and a y, and I can use that point and this slope to find b. So just like before, I'm going to write out y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug in my y, which was 0. My m, which is 1/3. My x, which is 6. And plus b. I'm going to bring down my 0. 1/3 times 6 is 2. And then I see that we're doing 2 plus b. To undo 2 plus b, I'm going to subtract 2. Now I have negative 2 equals b. I'm going to write that over here. I have my m, I have my b. I'm going to go ahead and write my equation. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. And remember, our last step should always be a check. So to give myself a little bit more room, I'm going to erase this. I'm going to write out what I think my equation is. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. I'm going to say, okay, y is 0. I have 1/3 for m. X is 6. Bring down my 0. 1/3 times 6 is a positive 2. Bring down my minus 2. And 2 minus 2 is 0. I get 0 equals 0. That means that my check worked. And that means that the equation is y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Alright, at this point, you should go ahead and pause the video and try these 5 practice problems. Just like the example from before this, example 5, it's not in your notes packet, but the other 4 problems are. So go ahead and try these 5 problems. And when you're ready, resume the video and you can see the answers. Here are the answers to practice 1 through 5. At this point, if you got anything wrong, I'd go back, try to see if you can find your mistake. And if you do find a mistake, write a note for yourself so that you know not to make that mistake again, and you can watch for some key things that you might make a mistake on.